And we have two, oh, let me start over. So now that we've teased apart the roadmap and we have two distinct tracks, one that the project management team is owning and one that the product planning team is owning, my question to y'all was, does it make sense to either cancel this larger meeting or have it be bi-weekly, but just basically moving to a model where each group is kind of tracking execution and planning on their own? So Holly's not here, but she says she's in favor and doing async. Alexis, do you want to verbalize? Oh, she just left as I called on her. Said, I'm okay to cancel for my recurring items see below. John, do you want to verbalize?
Yeah, can I rephrase? Like, could I ask for the elevator pitch on what product planning versus project management will be doing in the short term so that I can see if my assumptions align to the reality?
Sure. Kristen, do you want to go first with what product planning is doing?
Yeah, so the simple way to explain it is we'll work on the parenting object and get that live as soon as possible on the current issue view. So almost like copy paste the current Epic children object onto the current issue view. And that way we could go live with it without being blocked by the new UI and all of the everything that goes with that. So we'll try to make the component in such a way we can serve it up there as well as serve it up in the new UI. That's our part of it. The rest is Gabe. He can do his pitch.
Sorry, I just got done with a 2-hour call with a customer, literally. So I'm a bit fried. Yeah, we're gonna work on the new issue view within the concept of a task. So we sort of need the only thing we need to coordinate on, and this is really the engineering level layer, not the product layer, is just getting the actual work item parenting in the code so that like you can have a parent of another parent or a child of an issue, I guess, if that makes sense, at a code level. And then that sort of allows us to, Kristen sort of has flexibility on how she wants to handle the hierarchies and stuff, but the idea is to have a task as a child of an issue. You click on the task and then you can view the task detail view, which is the new issue view that we were talking about. So all the stuff that has been worked on for feature will be leveraged there, and then iterate kind of at our own pace on the new work item UI. And then Kristen also bounced around the idea of having other types of children that leverage the legacy issue UI in the time being. So that's great too. It kind of gives us flexibility to do either. And we can kind of work on each stream kind of without being a dependency of one another, if that makes sense. So that's my pitch. I'm in favor of separating meetings, whatever y'all want to do, really. I'm easygoing.
So who's working on tasks? Is that us or project management?
So we'll work on
project management.
The ability to add the children, just like you can add children on an Epic currently. So like displaying them and being able to click the add new button and however that UX sends out. But the ownership of the detail view is with Gabe. And whether or not that item, we may have legacy items that still display the old issue view, and tasks, we would always show the new one that Gabe's working on. Does that make sense? The reason we don't want them coupled is if we have to do anything turning off the new issue view or roll it back, like we don't want all parenting to go away. So it needs to live in a default state on the old view as well, so that those relations don't go away.
I must be misunderstanding. Like, it still sounds coupled to me though, because so we're going to build like the parent-child relationship, but that's going to be applied to tasks as the first feature. Is that right? Or?
So we have to talk about it as a team. We haven't really gone through it yet, but we could try another object that's not tasks that could be even called features, and that would just also load the current issue view just to test it and go live with that as well as the one that's on the modernized view.
Yeah, y'all can decide how you want to tackle it in product planning. I know for me, there's a path where we can get to basically opening up the task detail view so we can iterate on that without like the widget and all that other stuff, the parenting widget that will eventually go in. It's really like the collaboration needs to happen at the engineering level layer on the actual ability to support a child type, right? And we're happy to contribute the engineering effort to getting that like done at the API level or whatever, because once that's there, then like we can create a task, and then Kristen can iterate on the hierarchy and the parenting going up however many levels, down however many levels, whatever. But that's just like where it would make sense for us to collaborate on the code of basically the API and the data layer for that. And the views and all that stuff is fairly separate at that point. And there's one small thing that we were going to do in the interim too, like if that's going to take a little while, the first thing we're going to improve is surfacing it. I'm still waiting to hear from the team, but surfacing additional metadata in reference issues when it's rendered. Basically, GitLab flavor markdown will just render a reference issue with the # and the ID, and maybe just exposing the title, right? And then maybe like the status is a certain thing. So there's a little bit additional context. It's a usability win. That's also something we would want to do if we were to, like, let's say, convert a markdown task list item to a task, right? It would also show up in the widget that Kristen is working on, or it would disappear. You need to talk to some users about their expectations there, but sort of looking at how we can sort of decouple the things. And really the only dependency or thing that we're both dependent on is that parenting and the code layer, if that makes sense.
And then the other part is just rendering the current hierarchies into project settings so that the users can see how these things relate, and hard coding it. So for product planning, Alexis dropped, but this week we should kind of see what that will look like, which will kind of set the tone for all of the hierarchies. And we'll tease where we're going or how hierarchies could end up looking or how you could structure them in the future. So on product planning, it's deliver that. So we explain hierarchies and then deliver the hierarchy itself. Even if it's just like a copy paste of the current Epic thing, like just deliver it as an MVC into an existing issue.
But the Epic would be a work item, right? Like the new item, the new thing needs to be a work item rather than the copy paste.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we could test with an object called sub issue or feature or something that isn't a task, but the task one for sure has to get the new UI.
And part of the just rationale behind that is that I don't want to wait until, I don't want to build the whole new work item detail view behind a feature flag and then someday flip it on and then like have a quote unquote shitstorm of all the things breaking, whether that's WebSockets, real-time stuff, whether that's like really bad UX interactions, whether it is whatever. So this at least gives us a very like sandboxed, risk-averse way to build that out incrementally and have it be defaulted on. And then whenever we're confident in it, the basic plan is go into a formal beta period where we allow the user to toggle between the legacy issue view and the new work item detail view for like a period of a couple releases, make sure everything's stable, and then flip the flag and basically make it defaulted on for all work items.
Yeah, sounds good. You can see that with any refactor we've done recently, like the issue filter bar at the minute, no matter how close you think you've got it to the refactor to the previous thing, there are always bugs with it. So something as big as an entire view would be pretty painful, I think, just to do a hot switch.
Yep.
And so maybe it would be good to do, like I could do an AMA with our team, like the group product planning and project management too, and just like talk through all the mechanics and make sure that we truly are decoupled, or if there's any areas of risk, we can like highlight them then at the higher level, at the stage level. But that will help us kind of get our plan together as a team.
I think that's a really good idea. And I think it's easier to understand if we show something visual, right? Like design. Yeah. So I would wait until we have something to show for relationship widget before we do an AMA.
You're talking like a group. I was saying group AMA with the engineers. Were you saying like a whole AMA with the whole company?
No, like internally.
Oh,
within
okay.
plan.
Internal. Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right, Alexis. I don't know if you
she's
have.
back on.
Oh, her
Hey,
name.
yeah. It's probably awful, but what can I help with?
Oh, I'll read for you, and then if you want to expand, this used to be a weekly sync for product planning. And want to switch to that instead, or cancel the meeting. What do you think, Kristen?
Let's. I can just make a new one at the exact same time for product planning for syncing. We can cancel this one, but I'll try to use this slot because I think it's a good time for us to sync as a group. We all have this free on our calendar, and then we can adjust it later. So we can cancel this.
A separate meeting for product planning syncs, or just rescheduling that? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll start with this time slot until we get up and running as a group, just like around what we're going to do. But yeah, we can probably cancel this work item sync or make it monthly. I don't know how everyone feels around having a regular time to communicate about the project as a whole.
Whatever anyone needs. This used to be every week, but I'm down to make it less or more or whatever we need.
I think we can cancel it, just like Melissa suggested. Gabe's on board for that, and then we could, if we need a sync meeting, we can make one.
All right, cool. I'll take that action item, or whoever. I don't know if I own the meeting, so whoever owns the meeting, if you could help with that, please, of just canceling it. All right, John, you have the next item.
Yeah, I just wanted to put this on the radar, like, because I've brought this up a couple of times in previous meetings, but now it's in kind of black and white. If we don't deprecate the requirements API in 14.6, we'll have to wait a year before we can remove it. That means we have to support it for a year. Whereas, like, if we do deprecate it in 14.6, we can remove the API entirely as early as 6 months after that in 15.0.
Yeah.
So it's really just about giving ourselves more freedom.
Yeah.
All we have to do
is it the .6 and not the .0?
It's half release. So yeah, there is some handbook link. I will find it and link it hereafter. But yeah, you get basically every 6 months a chance to mark stuff as deprecated. Once it's marked as deprecated, you have to wait a further 6 months minimum to remove it. But you don't have to wait 6 months. You can wait as long as you want to remove it. So it's just giving us more flexibility.
Okay.
Basically, like, as long as that API is there, we're proxying some way through this old requirement object that we don't really want hanging around for too long. Even if we're just using it to, even if we're not using it at all, like if it's just sitting in the database, like, we basically want to get rid of stuff that's out of date. So this is like, this will be long out of date by then.
I'm game for that. I just want to know how big it ends up being, and then like trying to track for the .O's for 6 months ahead. That makes sense.
Deprecation should literally be a case of returning an additional message with every API call and adding something to the docs. 1 pointer, really, very low risk. Like,
Okay. And we'll have to figure the same thing out with epics eventually too. It'll probably be a longer time frame, but
Alexandria made the point in chat that it's GraphQL. It is GraphQL. That's why we have to wait. We have to do this 6 month wait. If it was the REST API, I think there's a similar deprecation issue with the REST API, or you just maintain it forever and then you wait for version 5 of the REST API. But I think it could be waiting a very long time.
Yeah, I think for REST API, we don't really have a deprecation process other than 5.0, which I'm not sure when that is coming. So
We also have to write the release post for that, I think now, right? So that starts to show to our customers that it's coming. So if I can help with that, with getting that up and just kind of the expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to include it in the API docs and things like that as well. But it's not.
I think it gets published for the next 6 months, and then it shouldn't be a huge surprise at the .0 release.
Yeah, anyone using the API will receive a message back on every call, I think, to say that it's deprecated.
Okay. Let me know if I can help with that, with the mechanics of the release post and all of it too.
No worries. I'll probably it's like 5:30 now, but I'll probably create the issue after the call, and then we can just add it to our planning issue for this month. Melissa, we skipped over a couple of your points here.
Oh, thank you. I'm less worried now about the usage if users are going to get a message back, but that would be good to know if we have that, right? Just is this something that's called very often or not, just to kind of brace for potential fallback. And then I just wanted to make sure that I'm clear on what the deprecation means. And it's essentially that we're saying in 6 months, this API won't be available anymore. And the expectation is that in 6 months, they would transition to the new work items API, correct?
Well, I mean, yeah, it may be that in 6 months, we're not ready for them to move and we continue to maintain it. But if we are, it means we can get rid of this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a 6 month minimum. So, once we pass that, we can deprecate it, I guess. I think whenever, unless maybe we have to say a specific release, we're going to remove it.
Okay.
That's a good question around usage as well, though, Melissa, because he's got probably his own Sisense graphs or tracking usage separately. Same with issues and epics when they come together, tracking and usage will be on only one object. So we need to start thinking about how we query that as well.
I think we can get some basic usage information from Kibana. Won't be great, but it'll show us the last 7 days worth. So we'll get at least an idea of how often this endpoint's used, if at all. But even if it's not very high traffic, we still have to follow our typical deprecation plan, because you don't know what maybe people have automated stuff on their own instances or something. Anything else? Yeah, just on this one as well. So we're still doing some cleanup work with moving requirements to work items as it is anyway. They are synced. We've run the background migration. Felipe tells me that should end tomorrow. So what that means is every requirement we had in the past, we now have a matching work item for it. So we have identical data stored in the work items table and in the requirements table. Eugenia is doing the work now to kind of use the work items table more of the time. And we want to make the old requirements object basically redundant so we can just get rid of it. But yeah, so that's where we're at. So there's still a little bit of work to do and she's working on that.
Let's see how much and how big it is, and then we can adjust our other plans based on that to make sure that we get the deprecation in.
It's a 5.
If we need,
it's currently scheduled as well, but I spoke to Eugenia this morning and we came up with a plan that would reduce the risk a little bit and get us a way to ship it gradually and with kind of less risk. So we can reduce the weight. But yeah, it's been scheduled for a while. It's just been bumped from milestone to milestone.
sounds good. Is there anything else? That's the end of the agenda.
How should we end such a run of meetings? Not with a bang, but a whimper.
And a high five.
Some beers. That's a little bit early in the day for me.
Shots.
Coffee shots.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
All
Pleasure.
right.
On to
Bye,
bigger
everyone.
and better.
Bye.
Bye.